World-renowned and highly prized.
Our customers don't need an AMG, they want an AMG.
Revered by their fans.
A new owner can enter our hallowed halls, so they also get to see how their engine builder works, how we assemble their complete engine from start to finish.
Each engine unique.
It makes me proud to be building my engine here.
From the racetrack to the open road.
When we drive these cars down the road, they give people goosebumps, they turn people's heads, and all these moments inspire us.
Where luxury meets performance.
All of a sudden, your passion flares up, and then you have the urge to feel it too.
Cars become legends. Seven o'clock in the morning at the AMG plant in Affalterbach. Gökhan Kulekci starts his shift with a familiar ritual. He runs his hands over a crankcase. Over the next few hours, the AMG assembly technician will build a complete engine. One man, one engine, one job.
So I take the engine, I start out with it like with a baby. I'm going to build the whole thing, assemble it completely, every single step. And that's the great thing. It's the most emotionally rewarding activity imaginable. Something I put together with my own hands.
An AMG engine takes form, assembled by a technician in 4 hours, from the first screw to the last. First, Gökhan Kulekci clamps the crankcase onto an assembly trolley. This will be his constant companion throughout the job. The entire production process is structured almost like a race. At the beginning, the technician and the assembly block cross a starting line. The 8 pistons are ready for deployment. Gökhan Kulekci hangs them on the trolley. An assembly jig ensures that they slide precisely into the cylinders.
First, we have to oil it. Okay, so now the piston is inserted into the cylinder. We have 2 compression rings and 1 oil control ring.
Each cycle constitutes a new phase in the assembly towards the finished engine. The crankcase already forms the core of a moving engine. The reciprocating pistons generate rotary motion.
This is my engine. I prepared it, and I'm now allowed to assemble it from start to finish. That's a wonderful moment because, what do they say? One man, one engine. Well, that's the tradition we have here. Putting your badge on it at the end. It's just beautiful. It's the best thing you can do. And yeah, it's fun.
One man, one engine. AMG proudly calls this a globally unique production philosophy. One technician is completely responsible for the entire assembly. That makes each engine unique. Michael Schiebe has been CEO of AMG since 2023. He fully intends to continue this special production tradition in the future.
Unsere beiden Gründungsväter, Hans-Werner Aufrecht und Erhard
Both of our company's founders, Hans-Werner Aufrecht and Erhard Melche, started out building engines. So it comes as no surprise that engine building remains at the heart of all our activities to this day. And one man, one engine, of course, that is the highest form of the art. We have one single person who really builds the entire engine from the ground up right through to the end. Did you see the engines covered up over there? That really says it best. When the shift is over, some other mechanic doesn't finish that engine the next day. Instead, the engine waits 14 days for the employee to return from his vacation and finish what he started, his own engine. And the quality certificate with his badge then marks the completion of the engine.
This engine, too, grows with its assembly technician. Gökhan Kulekci is now on his way to the next station. Each time, he finds a new workshop environment. Each time, he scans tools and components. Only when everything fits just right does the next work step begin.
We monitor everything, we scan all the components, and in the end, if there are any problems, we can trace where and why the fault occurred.
Tools hang from the ceiling, ready for use at all times, and are connected to a network. Computers monitor each work step in real time. Whenever anything is wrong, the system provides prompt feedback.
We have a 5G network here that enables us to use sophisticated digital systems to control all of our mechanics' processes very precisely, while also supporting the mechanics in a way that actually prevents them from making any mistakes.
Now, the mechanic Kulekci undertakes a key assembly step in cycle 6.
Okay, so now here we are. We've already got the oil pan in, the oil pump is in, and we've already prepared the timing chains, and the oil filter and so forth. And so now we've come to the step where we're going to mount the cylinder heads. And of course, we'll need a few bolts for that.
The bolts that connect the cylinder heads to the engine block are ready. The first cylinder head is brought in with a gripper arm. And a trained eye always plays a crucial role. Sometimes people see what machines cannot.
We always check the quality of all our components carefully to ensure that they're not damaged.
The crankshaft housing is inspected again from all sides. Now, the time has come. The cylinder head is slowly lowered onto the engine block. All guide pins and drill holes must fit with extreme precision. This is one of the most important moments in the construction of the engine, the very heart of the vehicle.
So here's the situation. We've got the first cylinder head on already, and so when we have the next one on too, then we've assembled almost half the engine.
But first, we have to take a step back to move forward. The overhead camshafts are removed again. This is the only way to provide access for the cylinder head bolts. Later on, they will be hidden beneath the camshafts. Every step in each cycle is precisely thought out and organized. Every movement follows a plan. When Kulekci removes the camshafts from the housing, he places them on a holder on the trolley. Now, the area he needs to reach for the next step lies exposed.
Now we insert the cylinder head bolts.
However, the screws are not fully tightened yet, but only hand-tightened. Gökhan Kulekci repositions his engine to access the left side, so he can repeat all the same work steps there. Carefully inspect. Mount the cylinder head in place. Scan equipment for activation. The cylinder head assembly cycle is now almost complete.
The bridge also comes out, and then we can insert the bolts here. Next, they'll be tightened, and that will unite the cylinder heads with the crankcase.
In the 7th cycle, the so-called multi-spindler awaits. This is where the automated machinery takes over the precision work. The digitally controlled screwing device works precisely at every point. All cylinder head bolts are tightened simultaneously with exactly the right torque. After that, human sensitivity is required once again. Kulekci oils the camshaft bearing housing. Now he can reinstall the camshafts. They will ensure the correct timing of the engine's intake and exhaust valves. The shape of the engine is now clearly visible. The 8 cylinders comprise 2 banks of 4, arranged at an angle to each other, forming a V. This gives the V8 its name.
I already know the engine inside out. And I'd even be able to do it in my sleep.
This also applies to the next step, the assembly of the timing chains. They link the camshafts to the crankshaft. The chains synchronize the timing sequence of the engine's separate internal moving parts, ensuring their perfectly timed interaction. This gives the engine its heartbeat. The chains are installed and held in place with slotted spring pins. For perfect alignment, Kühlekci installs templates that determine the exact position. This ensures that the valves will open and close precisely in time with the reciprocating motion of the pistons.
So we connect the crankshaft to the camshaft, which are precisely matched. That's why we have these tools here. Otherwise, the engine won't run.
Now the V8's awesome power all comes down to a few fractions of a millimeter. Kühlekci installs the sprockets on the camshafts. The crankshafts and camshafts are then connected by the timing chains. The camshafts control the opening and closing of the valves in sync with the crankshaft. At this point, Gökhan Kühlekci is more than halfway to his goal. AMG. This is how it all began. A legendary engine lies dormant under this hood. In a small workshop, a team of motorsport enthusiasts has revived it. But first, they must summon it from its slumber. Matthias Bettels and his team have faithfully recreated this vehicle. Its nickname? The Red Pig. In the 1970s, AMG's success began with a modified Mercedes sedan exactly like this one. Bettels is in the process of preparing this powerful beast for a classic car race.
Now we're checking the cooling system. We're in the warm-up phase. We just did a cold start.
From a Mercedes 300 SEL collector's car, these automotive engineers have created a detailed replica of the race car.
Rebuilding the engine alone took over 400 hours in mechanical work. Tuning, refurbishing every single part. Don't forget it was a very old engine. It had a few 100,000 miles on it. 30 years of dirt all over it. Everything was cleaned in an ultrasonic bath. Every mechanical part was replaced with a better one to achieve this performance. It's very, very extraordinary, a very, very nice project. Well over 1,500 man-hours in the whole car, basically for the whole project.
The real Red Pig no longer exists. It was stripped down into its individual parts after it made racing history. The 300 SEL was actually a heavy sedan until the tuning company AMG turned it into a racing car. Daniela Siegel manages the AMG archive. She's proud of the original road registration, including passport photo, which was required by law at the time. This souped-up luxury car was a real eye-catcher.
The car attracts everyone's attention. And back in 1971, when it chalked up a series of successes, it came as a complete surprise. At the same time, people also thought it was really cool to see this very grown-up Mercedes-Benz sedan transformed into this rebellious race car, which then competed very successfully at Spa in 1971.
A rebellion on four wheels. It's the heyday of endurance racing. teams of multiple drivers tear around racetracks in touring cars around the clock. The 24 Hours of Spa is a particularly spectacular event.
Some 80 cars set off at exactly 3 p.m. on June the 24th, 1971 in a merciless round-the-clock war of attrition. Right from the start, Dieter Glems's factory Capri takes the lead. A short time later, the Belgian Evo Growl's burly 530 horsepower Chevrolet Camaro is already out in front. The private AMG Mercedes with Hans Heyer at the wheel also overtakes Glems's Capri.
The race sparks the company's first success. Mercedes pulls off a huge surprise second-place finish with their modified AMG 300 SEL, the Red Pig.
At dawn, the timekeepers spot only 23 cars, some in perfect health, some on their last legs. The watchword for the final few hours: survive, take no more risks, just make it to the finish line. The AMG Mercedes refuels once more. Shortly thereafter, the leading Capri RS makes its last driver change. Then the checkered flag falls. Only 18 cars survive for the full distance. A great day for Ford, but also a great day for Mercedes.
Because an outsider becomes a superstar. Overnight, AMG is world famous.
And it was so unusual or surprising that this large, heavy luxury sedan, which still weighed over 1,600 kilos, won the race and left all the other smaller, much lighter cars behind. This victory was so unexpected that it was even reported on the TV news. And that was the first flash of fame for AMG. But this tiny little company here in the southwest of Germany became big enough that people with Mercedes cars, be it a Fintail or a standard 300 SL 6.3, made the pilgrimage to AMG and asked if they could make their car faster and more powerful too.
Today, the legend lives on. A very exclusive fan community is thriving. Enthusiasts are willing to pay several €100,000 for a replica like this. He's preparing the replica for the racetrack. Matthias Bettes has redesigned the Red Pig according to old engineering drawings. For the car manufacturer, it's one of his masterpieces.
The bushings look great. They'll be just fine.
There was a drop of oil here. Take a look.
We'll have to tighten the clamp. I think it's coming out of the clamp here, just a little bit. And these are the really good clamps, right?
Bolted and welded using only the finest components. The result is a V8 engine with 430 horsepower. Bettes replicas make long cherished dreams come true.
This is what men dream about. Dreams that we turn into reality. That's what it boils down to. We're talking about achieving men's dreams here. So there's nothing better than taking a little test drive out on the open road afterwards. Letting the wind rush past your ears and listening to the engine. That's an amazing feeling.
Out on the road for a test drive. As an original replica, this Mercedes has no modern driver assistance systems whatsoever. Driving like it was back in the 70s. High engine output without any power steering at all. Steering a Red Pig takes a lot of experience and full physical exertion.
I always compare the Red Pig to riding a wild bull that you have to grab by the horns when you accelerate. And you actually ride it like in a rodeo, because it's just such a powerful car with so much power. And it's so much fun to drive.
Meanwhile, in Affalterbach, Gökhan Külekçi has arrived at cycle 13. Now, the V8 engine gets its extra power.
So I've mounted the cylinder head covers, I've installed the high-pressure pumps, I've installed the thermostat, and I've mounted the manifold in the hot inside 5. Now comes a key moment. Here on top of the manifold, I'm now going to install the 2 turbochargers that make the engine even more powerful.
And here comes the source of all that extra power, turbocharger number 1. This time too, it's first greased, and then the big moment. The turbocharger gives the engine its crown. The principle is as simple as it is effective. The turbo uses the power of the exhaust gases, which would otherwise just go up in smoke. They drive a turbine wheel. That rotary motion simultaneously compresses the intake air and feeds more oxygen into the engine for combustion. The V8 is a biturbo. Kühlerci now installs the second turbo. Template helps the mechanic mount the 2 turbochargers exactly parallel to each other. Done. Everything is in place.
So now we've got our turbochargers on here, 2 of them, and they add a whole lot more power.
The job is almost done. The engine is nearing completion. What's missing is the electrical system. Kühlerci wires up the individual components. The machine gets its nervous system. He installs the wiring harness, which means he routes the cables that connect the various components. What started out as a bare crankshaft housing has now grown into a high-performance V8 biturbo engine. And all in the course of just a few hours. A few details are still missing. Here, Kühlerci is fitting the oil filler neck. Just a few more yards to the end of the production line. Final touches, last screws, the last few minutes. Now the time has come, the finish line. Gökhan Kühlerci rolls across the line on the ground. The engine is complete. The race is won. A moment for the builder to celebrate. The assembly technician immortalizes himself forever on the machine with a prefabricated signature badge. His engine, his work, his nameplate.
It makes me proud to finish the whole engine and to see my own engines sold worldwide with my nameplate on them.
The assembly technician's wall of fame in Affalterbach. Kühlerci's name is also on it, one of around 270 highly qualified mechanics.
Putting their badge in the engine is more than just an honor for the mechanic, of course. He has the privilege of signing the engine. And it also represents an obligation because every one of us knows that when you sign something, like any sort of official document, you are submitting a formal statement, of course. And in this case, the statement is that this engine really does meet absolutely all of our quality requirements and is a high-performance engine from AMG.
Gökhan Kühlerci didn't just do a job. He built a perfect engine, and the new owners often thank him for it.
It's a nice feeling because our customers also write sometimes. They really write to me via social media, and most of them are happy about what a great job we've done here. And I'm happy too.
Now his engine sets forth on its travels, with a badge that stands for handcrafted quality. For them, starting out was never easy. As the 1960s draw to a close, Mercedes engineers Erhard Melcher and Hans-Werner Aufrecht actually want to build racing engines. But Mercedes opts out of racing. So the two found AMG, Aufrecht, Melcher and Großasbach, the birthplace of Hans-Werner Aufrecht. They begin to produce their dream racing car.
So it was just the two of them. There were no employees or anything like that. There were maybe a few buddies who came to help out. But the first workshop, it was an old mill they rented in Burgstall. That's the neighboring village here. And this old mill was just barely suitable as a workshop. It was rather cramped and it was dark, but at least it was a place where you could tinker and make noise and work.
Tough times for the small tuning workshop. And then overnight, they become famous with the Red Pig. However, all that development work had pushed them to their financial limits.
So, having invested an incredible amount of money in the 300 SL 6.8, the Red Pig, well, if we're really honest, they probably have to regain their strength financially before they can even think about motorsport again. That's why they first make money by modifying and tuning normal series production cars. But basically, it's an independent workshop specializing in Mercedes.
A lucrative business model. AMG turns series production cars into road racers. The car manufacturer grows and grows.
And that attracts so much attention from Mercedes-Benz, who have been looking more or less askance at Affalterbach up to now. It attracts so much attention because the results are so impressive that in 1988 Mercedes offers them a racing contract. So AMG is invited to assume responsibility for a Mercedes-Benz racing team.
It marks the start of a long and successful relationship. In 2005, the AMG automaker becomes a subsidiary of Mercedes. With the Mercedes takeover, the sports car brand obtains its own design. Robert Lesnick and Bastian Baudi are the creative minds behind the AMG look. It all starts with a simple sketch. From these initial ideas on paper, they develop an overall concept. The car develops a character. It should look sporty, but also express elegance at the same time.
Yeah, one of the most important iconic elements of every AMG is the grille. This A shape, wider at the bottom than at the top, which I think is a very good way to emphasize a certain aggressiveness, the sporty presence. And of course, you can differentiate the cars a little more depending on how big and open the whole thing is, right?
The first digital models are created from the sketches they've drawn, an important checkpoint for Lesnick and Baudi. The computer graphics show them whether the design that's being created here is truly unmistakable.
The most important thing in a sports car, and this includes AMG, of course, is the proportions. You can see that pretty well here in this sketch, the car's posture on the road, right? I see the car in the city and I turn my head. The car, not at high speed, but in the city, it drives past me and I just turn around to look. The car has enormous shoulders. There is a sensual clarity. That's our in-house style, the design philosophy. In this bold expression, it can only be AMG.
Especially in our cars, of course, where the front comes down, everything coalesces forward where it meets the road. It's the grille that dictates the car like a turbine and gives the front its shape and also its volume. And I believe that it's precisely this full volume and this presence that brings it to the front, which are essential.
When Bastian Baudi talks shop, his enthusiasm is palpable. His vehicle design should and must kindle emotions. People should associate the car with something that fascinates them, such as racing.
These are all aspects of the cars that turn them into highly emotional products which every designer has internalized with fascination when designing. In other words, inspired by racing, especially when you see a car like this on the racetrack, which is also AMG's birthplace. And ultimately, it's all these emotions that you put into this sketch as well. Emotions are an integral part of the process and inspire us in the design of every AMG car.
The design takes shape line by line on the 3D model. And depending on the specific arrangement, every single one can make a huge difference.
Basic vertical lines like on a Rolls-Royce tend to evoke status, a little stiffness, more presence, and then This triangle, like a letter A, stability on the road, because of these lines running down the sides, which gives the car a stance on the road. If I converge towards the middle underneath, it basically renders the car narrow and unstable. But instead, this outward support, where the wheels are, giving the car breadth, giving the car a solid base. That's why this imagery is repeated in all these lines, pulling the car outwards and downwards. And then these headlights are also oriented accordingly, and on the grille as well. And that's this look that's so very unique to AMG.
Now, the digital graphic design has taken on solid form. A clay model is the first full-scale rendition.
We come from the sketch. The next step is then this clay model, where you transfer the sketch into three-dimensional space, where you can flesh out all these volumes and surfaces, and you can then correct surface gradients with tape. And then in the end, you can cover it with this foil to make it look as much like a real car as possible. And then you have the real design. And so you develop the design further and further until you reach the final state.
What Bastian Baudi is presenting here is the prototype for a whole new generation of vehicles. AMG 2 is planning for an electric future. Along the way there, this model is already racing ahead. The AMG ONE is not yet fully electric, but it's a hybrid like no other before it. A V6 combustion engine from Formula One combined with 4 electric motors. The result is a road-legal super sports car, a so-called hypercar, with 1,000 horsepower and a top speed of more than 350 kilometers per hour. Gull-wing doors evoke the great SL era. With the One, AMG seeks to carry its legend forward into the future.
Our vision for the future of AMG is, first and foremost, we will continue to generate emotions. That's the most important thing of all. That means, on the one hand, we will continue to offer combustion engines. At the same time, however, we are already working at full power to bring our first high-performance, all-electric platform onto the market. And the goal for this platform is to offer our customers the same emotional connection that they have with a combustion engine today.
The AMG ONE is a flagship, and it should remain exclusive. The car manufacturer is producing 275 units, no more. All of them were sold before the market launch. These collector's items are as exceptional as their price. If you want to own an AMG ONE, you have to pay more than 2 million euros for it. AMG combustion engines have a cult following. The electric sports cars of the future should also offer something unmistakable.
What does that mean? A grille through which air once flowed is now being interpreted differently for electric cars. On the one hand, yes, this iconic graphic image and this A shape and these vertical slats, a major brand recognition element for AMG when we maintain it, but just in a new way. One can imagine that it might be illuminated, whether it might add more value to the brand.
I think the eyes of the face are, of course, just as important, because ultimately every Mercedes needs a face. Earlier we saw a sketch in which these 3 light dots, 3 lighting elements, they were arranged very differently. But in this proposal, you can see a different shape, which could perhaps be done in the same way, but for the electric vehicle. We'll see. As I said, it's just one of many ideas.
The AMG design should remain unique, even if some elements will soon be superfluous in an e-sports car. For example, the tailpipes.
Of course, the big question here is, an electric car has no exhaust pipes. So how do we capture this fascination carried over into the future for an element that automatically, immediately draws your attention. Now here's a suggestion where we simply use the lights for this purpose, to evoke these iconic elements on this rear end. I always say, easy to read, easy to remember. In other words, I've seen them before, so I can remember them.
Future vision and status quo. The car manufacturer presents the futuristic clay model of an AMG alongside the SL and GT combustion engine models. The look should also remain unique in the future. The designers created it, then the car goes into production. An AMG SL gets its start. In Bremen, northern Germany, Mercedes operates one of the world's largest production lines. The SL and GT bodies are produced in the production facility here in Bremen. Here too, they manufacture products cycle by cycle, in Z steps. Z is the first letter of the German word for assembly. In Z1, the body parts are joined and welded together, almost exclusively by robots that use lasers to weld the aluminum components. The concentrated rapid energy input guarantees that every seam fits with millimeter precision. The aluminum components are hoisted into place in robot cells. A car body takes shape. In the meantime, the body in white is already clearly visible. First, the machines do the heavy work. The components are slowly lifted up to the body. Here, the side section of an AMG SL is being assembled. Transportation to the next station is fully automated too. Huge gantry cranes pass the body along. From this point on, however, a trained eye is also required. No two vehicles are exactly the same. It's all about subtle differences and high precision. To ensure the high quality of the aluminum bodies, the final decisive weld seams are made by specialists. Gordon Kremer is the head of the body in white production line. He knows that skilled workers are indispensable here.
The body of an SL is made of aluminum, and aluminum welding is a fine art. We have automated processes with robots, of course, but certain joints can be fabricated much better by a human, and with better quality. We might have, let's say, slight changes from body to body, and only a person can address them, and can also inspect the result of their own work independently.
The smallest imperfections in the welding work of the machines, that's where specialists are on hand to intervene if necessary.
Our colleagues here also check the work of the robots. In other words, the robots always weld consistently, but our colleague here on site has to re-inspect what the robot has done, and may then have to rework it, because he can do it better than the robot.
They call it MMK here, man-machine cooperation, teamwork to create the perfect car body.
If we take a look at the seam here, there's a splash here, but otherwise it looks very good. Okay, so I think you'll have to check this over again here, but otherwise it's a great job. Take another look and make sure it's all clean.
The sidewalls are added in the next assembly stage. The body has now reached cycle Z3. The fenders, tailgate, and hood are installed. The distances between the moving parts are measured, and they are also felt by hand. The smaller the deviations, the higher the quality of the vehicle.
We're talking about gap dimensions with a 0.5 millimeter tolerance, which the employees have to maintain when installing add-on parts. They operate within such tolerance limits. And of course, our colleagues also feel the transitions by touch. That means the final act is just sliding the hand over it, which is also important for the technicians to rely on their own feeling. And then they can feel good about handing the body over to the customer.
Every little adjustment makes the vehicle even more perfect. The exact gap dimensions and the precisely measured distances between the doors and the frame reflect the overall precision. The bodywork is finished. The interior work begins. Bremen uses a flexible assembly line system, allowing a wide range of models to pass through the stations one after another. The materials for each model must be available at the right time and in the right place on mobile storage racks. In this step, the cockpit is assembled. An entire supply network converges on the production line. Just-in-time production is a logistical feat. Once the interior has been completed, the top can now be installed. One model after the other reaches the end of the assembly phase. What's still missing are the chassis and the engine. And now, the star of the show makes its grand entrance. A hand-built AMG engine arrives in Bremen, and along with it, in a small yellow bag, Gökhan Külekçi's badge. The engine from Affalterbach is now connected to the transmission in Bremen. A gripper is used to push the heavy block onto the V8 engine. A highly sophisticated automatic transmission is installed. Soon, it will provide smooth, seamless acceleration. Engine block and transmission are joined together. The car has an all-wheel drive system. Here, the front axle transmission is attached to the engine block. It transfers power from the engine to the front wheels. The drive unit is now complete. The core of the future super sports car is ready for transportation. A fully automatic transport trolley takes charge of the precious cargo. It transfers the engine transmission unit to the next station. Gökhan Külekçi built the engine. Now it's being installed in the chassis. Michael Fries is the head of Mercedes production in Bremen. He's responsible for ensuring that the work processes of man and machine all mesh perfectly.
Humans are very adaptable. That's one of their defining capabilities. They can adapt to all sorts of circumstances very quickly. And this is our ace in the hole. You have to work very precisely with these things. Above all, the technology can handle things that would be difficult for the employee. Handling weight, moving a heavy weight to a specific location.
The assembly technicians bolt the cardan shaft and rear axle to the engine assembly. The SL's drivetrain is complete. A fully automated robot trolley transports the completed chassis to a very special event, the so-called wedding. The substructure slides through an orange curtain to the station where chassis and body will be united, a connection that will last for the life of the car. The car body descends from above.
And then the employees approach the car, accompanying the final joining process, and position the parts precisely before they start to tighten all the screwed connections. You can then see the employees going to the screw points to screw the body frame to the body.
The wheels and wheel suspensions are attached at the same time. Next, the rear axle steering system is installed and fastened to the wheel carrier. The wedding is the moment when the various production lines, engine, chassis, and bodywork are joined together. For car manufacturers, there's always something magical about this technical process.
It's one of the most emotional and important moments in automobile construction, the wedding. This is where the powertrain, with the axle and all the assemblies, is married to the body. This is one of the most important processes. The wedding ultimately determines whether the car can perform very well. It's the point where the entire car is actually born.
This black SL only has a few more meters to go before it can roll out into the open. The clearly visible name is still missing. It's glued to the engine cover, a status symbol for future owners. This is followed by the model designation and logo. The lettering is glued on by hand using stencils. Exceptional design and extraordinary engine performance. After all, anyone who drives in such luxurious style also wants people to notice. AMG stands for quality. SL63 stands for speed. For a sports car with more than 580 horsepower. SLs and GTs stand in a long line ready for transportation. A bit like predators before the hunt, waiting to be unleashed. Now the time has come. A new SL rolls out of the factory for delivery to the customer. The SL awaits its future owner in the showroom in Affalterbach. Polished to a high gloss and staged with its own scenery. This turns the delivery into a spectacular event for the customer. Buying a car is also a form of entertainment. And Niklas Bethke is the master of ceremonies.
Allow me to extend a warm welcome to you all here in Affalterbach to the fastest family in the world, and here we have the Mercedes-AMG SL63.
The end of a long production process. Now, Niklas Bethke hands over the car to the buyer. Gökhan Külekçi built this engine and immortalized his signature on it with his badge.
It does a lot for our customers. It makes them feel like part of this family, the world's fastest family, as we call ourselves. That's just a thing we came up with here. It's also why we get such great feedback.
The world's fastest family. Perfect staging during the handover of the keys serves to bind customers to the company. The idea behind the slogan, anyone who rolls out of the factory gates in their new sports car will always remain part of an exclusive community.
We invite our customers here. They spend an incomparable day with us. They have the opportunity to experience our engine factory, and they also take a look behind the scenes. And customers don't just come here and take delivery of their car. They also give something back to my team. They show that they appreciate us, they admire what we do. I think that's great recognition for the work we do here every day, and also a bit of appreciation.
One man, one engine, one extraordinary philosophy. AMG will also continue to focus on exclusivity in the future. Having and maintaining a cult following is the goal. When a car sounds like this, accelerates like this, and grips the road like this, then there can be no mistake. It's an AMG.